Good afternoon and welcome to another Coffee Break Catch-Up. My name is Mark, I am your Coffee Break host, and of course we're here with another catch-up to help you keep up to date with what's happening here at Coffee Break Languages. Now, if you are watching, wherever you're watching in the world, let us know where you are watching and indeed which language you're learning. We always love saying hello to everyone and to find out what you are thinking about today. Today our topic is Netflix shows for language learners. Well, Netflix shows, Amazon Prime shows, Hulu shows, Apple TV shows that are forthcoming when it launches next month. Any kind of shows where you think you would be able to improve your language skills by using a TV show or a TV series to get hooked and therefore to practice your language skills more. Now, let me just check that everything is working. I should be able to bring in my slides here. Yep. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button. That didn't work, but okay, we've got the slides here and hopefully you can hear me okay. I think to begin with, as usual, we're going to be starting with some coffee break news. Then we'll move on to our talking point, and of course, we'll also be sharing some cultural information about what's happening in the various places around the world where the languages that you're learning are spoken. So let us know where you're watching, let us know which language you're learning, and also if you've got any ideas about a particular show on Netflix or on any of the other streaming services that you're enjoying, then post that in the comments too. Let's just double check that we've got some listeners here. We've got Audrey joining us from Aboyne in Aberdeenshire, trying to learn French, loving Coffee Break. Thank you, Audrey. We've got Cesar from Temecula, I think that is. I'm not quite sure about the pronunciation there, in California. We've got Brian joining us also from California. It's very early in the morning there, so we're delighted that you're joining us. Brian's studying Spanish and Italian. We've got Grace joining us from the US, and Reza is saying that Reza's ready to hear about French show recommendations. Fantastic. Well, and Reza is from Houston in Texas and learning French. Let us know where you are learning, what you're learning, and again, if you have got some recommendations for various Netflix shows or Amazon Prime shows or whatever it happens to be. There will be time to do that a little later, but for now, let's move on and tackle our coffee break news. If I can press the right button. Okay, to begin with today, we're going to be looking at the latest episodes of the Coffee Break magazine. Now, this is, of course, our podcast, which is going out every 2 weeks, and we're currently running our French, our German, and our Italian editions of the Coffee Break magazine. So if we just switch on to our slides here, last week we published an episode all about Edith Piaf. It was called Non, Rien de Rien, an episode about the wonderful Edith Piaf and her life and her interesting and at times tragic life. So that was the episode 9 of the Coffee Break French podcast. Now, we've actually earlier today just been recording episode 10, and the topic for that is La Tour Eiffel, the Eiffel Tower, and you'll be able to hear that pretty soon. I think it's due out next week. So you can look forward to that. In the meantime, we've also published some other content for our Coffee Break Italian podcast, and in the most recent Italian magazine show, we had an episode with Francesca, of course, talking about la ricetta di Francesca. And la ricetta is a recipe. So Francesca was helping us make a delicious Italian dish, rice-based dish. And this is called panissa. And panissa is a sort of risotto. And we basically shared the recipe for this dish in the most recent episode of the Coffee Break Italian magazine. So if you fancy doing some cooking, if you fancy trying out your Italian at the same time, then you can listen to the most recent episode of the Coffee Break Italian podcast. Now, tomorrow it's time for German, and I love the name of this episode. Der Rheinfall ist kein Rheinfall. Now, I should explain. The Rheinfall, with an H, is a waterfall in the Schaffhausen, the town of Schaffhausen, and it is a waterfall on the Rhine River, of course. But the word Rheinfall without an H means something that's a bit useless. So to say der Rheinfall ist kein Rheinfall, that means that the Rheinfall is anything but useless. It's actually very impressive. So our episode this time is all about the Rheinfall waterfall. And you can tune into that from tomorrow. It will be available on the site tomorrow. So those are our three main Coffee Break magazine shows at the moment. And we also publish our Tune for Tuesday every Tuesday, as you know. And this week we've been doing a song that I'm sure you're familiar with. This is a song, I think, from the 90s, as far as I remember. Living La Vida Loca. Now, you'll probably be familiar with the English version of this song, but there's also a Spanish language version of the song. And that's what we included in this week's Tune for Tuesday. So if you fancy tuning into some Tune for Tuesday and a little bit of Ricky Martin, then you can check out the Tune for Tuesday on our site. Now, the Tune for Tuesday also provides a Spotify playlist and a YouTube playlist, so you can catch up on all our previous Tune for Tuesdays over there. And that's something that we're going to be developing over the next few weeks, so we're looking forward to that. So the Tune for Tuesday this week was, of course, Ricky Martin and Livin' La Vida Loca. Now, I should also mention here our 1 Minute Languages shows. Over the past few weeks, we've been publishing our 1 Minute Language courses all on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. And this means that there are now over 30 courses in different languages, literally from Arabic to Zulu, from A to Z. Now, there aren't 30 there on the screen. I think there are just 25 there. I didn't have room for them all on the screen. But you can access all of these video courses for free on our Coffee Break Languages YouTube channel. So we would definitely suggest that you go ahead and do that and access the basics of these languages. And who knows, you can always impress people with just a little bit. A little language goes a long way, as we always say here at Coffee Break Languages. Okay, again, thank you for sharing. Thank you for letting us know where you're watching. Thank you for letting us know which languages you're learning. We will be coming back to this in a little while when we've done our talking point. But for now, I'd also like to tell you about something that's been happening here this week in our Coffee Break Languages headquarters here in Glasgow, Scotland, and that is our work experience students. We've actually had a group of students with us all week, and they've been very busy working hard. And I'd like to say a huge thanks to all of them. So that's Stephen and Stuart and Gregor and Susanna and Katie and Ellie. We've had an absolute great time working with you all over the course of the past week. And all 6 of the students have been busy helping us put together today's Coffee Break catch-up. And you'll see some of them a little later on in the catch-up. So we, as you know, we're a language company based in Glasgow, and we work with schools regularly to help schools develop languages. And of course, we produce lots of content that schools can use every single week. And it's been brilliant having our work experience students with us this week, and we hope that they have enjoyed their experience. And I know they're watching just through there, so hello. Okay, let us move on, and we'll get on with the rest of the catch-up, because there's something that we need to share with you, and that is a special event that is happening on the 8th of November. Now, every now and then we make some announcements, and sometimes we make some small announcements, and sometimes we make some big announcements. And on the 8th of November, don't miss this announcement, because there are some very big announcements coming on this day. So that is 2 weeks tomorrow, I think. Yep, 2 weeks tomorrow. And you, I'm sure, will be very excited to hear what we have in store. The event will be happening, of course, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on our site, and we'll be doing it as a live video presentation along the lines of this. And we're very excited to be sharing with you some exciting news for language learners around the world. And this is happening, as I say, on the 8th of November, Friday, the 8th of November, a big day for Coffee Break Languages. Okay, that is our news for this week. Before we move on, let's see a few more hellos. We've got quite a number of people joining us today. So we've got Sandra joining us from Houston. We've got Malin, a regular viewer from Sweden. Malin, nice to see you. We've got, I'm not quite sure about the name here, Marinov from Bulgaria. Hello. We've got Trevor joining us from Cambridge, learning Italian and refreshing German and Spanish. Brilliant. We have LJ Compton Baldwin in Marietta, Georgia, learning French. We've got Judy from Kansas. We've got Justin learning Spanish with Coffee Break Spanish. We've got Lynn from Indianapolis. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for tuning in. We've got Hossam joining us saying Coffee Break French is awesome. Beatrice or Beatrice who loves Coffee Break French, and Anthony also loves Coffee Break French. It rocks, apparently. Just completed the first unit, going to become a paying customer with the second unit. Thank you. Oh, lots of you saying hello now. Brenda, Alvaro, Jennifer from Sweet Home, Alabama. Fantastic. And we've also got Hope joining us. Thank you for saying hello. It's time to move on to our talking points. So let's bring up the talking point for this week. Okay, our talking point this week is all about Netflix shows or Amazon Prime shows or Hulu shows or wherever you get your streaming content, because on all of these streaming platforms there are lots and lots of fantastic quality foreign shows. So shows which are perhaps in Spanish or Portuguese or French or Italian or German or Chinese or Hindi or whatever. And there's always ways in which you can use these shows to help you build your language skills. One of the best things about these kind of shows is that you very much get hooked, and it's very easy to keep watching because there's a story and it takes place over a long number of episodes. And very often the episodes are perhaps just between 25 and 45 minutes long. So it's not too long to watch something, but you can certainly keep going at it. Now, there are a few tips that we've got for you a little later. I'm going to be sharing these in just a moment. But to begin with, I've just realised Hope's still on the screen there. Sorry, Hope. To begin with, what I'd like to do is share a video with you. In fact, yeah, I'm going to share a video with you, which we asked the various members of the Coffee Break team what shows they like watching. So let's watch this video first, and then I'm going to ask you to post your comments about which shows you like in the comments. So let's bring up our video here.
My favourite series on Netflix at the moment is La Casa de Papel, which is Money Heist in English. It's about a group of criminals who want to raid a bank or get more money, but they want to do so by printing more money, and really enjoyed it so far.
My favourite film on Netflix has to be Intouchable. It's a French film about a disabled man and his helper, and in the end, after a lot of funny jokes, they become best friends, and it's a really heartwarming film.
My favorite TV series on Netflix in Italian is Baby, and it's a series it's basically a teen drama about the life of some teenagers from Rome.
My favourite Netflix series is called The Ministry of Time, set in Madrid. It is about an office, and underground there are several portals that lead to a different time era. So it is a series about time travel in Spain.
One of my favourite series on Netflix is a Spanish series called Velvet, which is super cheesy. It's set in Madrid in a department store, and it's about the relationships between the family who own the store and the people who work there. But the thing is, it's really clear Spanish, so it's a great series to watch if you're a beginner or you're just starting out learning Spanish.
My favourite Netflix show is Lamont, which is a French crime series on Netflix. It's about a serial killer nicknamed the Mantis, who decides to collaborate with the police after a string of copycat murders appear.
My favourite French Netflix series is The Hookup Plan, or Le Plan Court in French, and it's a really funny, light-hearted rom-com.
I don't watch a particular series on Netflix, but when I watch foreign films, I always make sure that I have the subtitles on, and I change the language of the subtitles. That makes it more interesting.
Okay, so there are the thoughts and comments from the Coffee Break team, or at least some members of the Coffee Break team. And of course, they were joined, as you saw, by some of our work experience students. So thank you to all of you for sharing your ideas about various Netflix shows. But now it's over to you, our listeners and our viewers. Which Netflix or Amazon Prime and all of the different streaming platforms, which shows do you like watching? Let us know in the comments. We'd love you to post your thoughts if there's a particular show that you've been watching. Or indeed, if you're here to find out about other shows, then let us know that too, because it's always good to have some comments from everyone. So we're looking forward to seeing what your comments are. So I'll bring in our timer. You've got 1 minute. Let us know what you are watching currently on Netflix or the other streaming platforms. Okay, so some of you are sharing your ideas, your thoughts on different shows on Netflix. And we've also got a couple of questions about having to change the settings in order to get access to these shows. Normally, depending on where you are in the world, you will still be able to find foreign shows. If you're, for example, in the UK, you'll still be able to find foreign shows on Netflix in the UK. So if you know the titles of some of these shows, and we'll post some in the, well, already there are some comments coming in here, but if you search for the title, then you'll be able to find the title on your local version of Netflix or Amazon or wherever. At the moment, it does look like Netflix is perhaps the most international one of these. Now, I was recently in the States. Last week I was over in the States, and the range of shows over there was a little bit different from the range of shows that we have got here in the UK. But it still allowed me to search for shows, and it would provide the search results, and I was able to check out what the different shows were there. So let us look to see what we've got here. So as Jeff is asking that question, actually, do you have to change the location to find these programs? The actual way your account works on Netflix, you can't change your location on Netflix. So you'll have an account on Netflix for your own country, and you'll not be able to change location or anything like that, but you will be able to search for shows in French, shows in Spanish, and so on. So I hope that answers your question. Brian is saying, è arrivata la felicità su Rai. So Rai is the Italian state broadcaster, and I'm assuming È arrivata la felicità is a series on Rai. Now, I'm not familiar with this one, so I'm very keen to look at that one. I'll have a look for that, Brian, thank you. And I'm not sure whether that would be available within the UK or whether it's just on the Rai streaming platform in Italy. Brenda is saying The Invisible Guest is a great movie on Netflix in Spanish. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this is a film that is set in the north of Spain. It's a crime film, and I think I have seen it. I think it's a very good film. It's very atmospheric in the way in which it's filmed. So thank you, Brenda, for sharing that. Marinov from Bulgaria is suggesting Narcos, which is in Spanish and it's set in Colombia, a fantastic series. Judy is suggesting A French Village on Netflix. I'm not familiar with that one, but I'll certainly have a look. And Isabella's joining us a little late to the party and missed your question. Well, Isabella, we're talking about shows on Netflix today. So let us know if you've got any ideas as to what is available. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to have to mute my microphone because I've got to cough, and I'm hoping I'm going to be able to do this correctly. Sorry about that. I hope that you didn't hear me coughing. So we've got Jennifer who's saying here, 10%, or Call My Agent in English, is an incredibly well written and a fun way to practice your French. Thank you, Jennifer, for that. Now, I've got 2 pieces of advice in terms of what you can do to use Netflix more effectively, if you like, as a language learner. First of all, what I would suggest you do is investigate both the audio and the subtitle settings in Netflix and the other streaming platforms. Because what you'll perhaps find is that some of the shows that you're watching in English actually have alternative audio streams and subtitles. So you could be watching something that you watch all the time in English on Netflix, but there actually perhaps is a full audio version of the show in a foreign language. So the foreign language that you're learning, for example, you might be able to find, I don't know, Friends, but in Spanish. So you can switch on the Spanish audio or the Spanish subtitles, or indeed both. Now, if you do both, then be aware that very often the subtitles aren't an exact transliteration of what is being said on the screen. Why is this? Well, the people who do the translating for dubbing and the people who do the translating for the subtitles are often different people. So be aware of that. Also, the fact that the people who are translating the subtitles are working from the English subtitles, and therefore they're translating that, not necessarily the dialogue. So don't expect necessarily when you're looking at a particular show that's an English language show, and you switch on the French audio for that, and you switch on the French subtitles, don't expect them to be the same thing. But it's definitely worth trying out the audio settings, and you'll be able to find that easily enough. Normally you just press the select button on your control or on your computer or whatever, and you can switch the subtitles and the audio there. Now, the other tip I've got for you involves a really cool website which allows you to watch a show on Netflix but have two sets of subtitles at once. Now, you do have to have a Netflix account for this, but it is very, very useful because it allows you to watch some of the most popular shows, but you can switch on both the English subtitles and the Spanish or the Hebrew or the Russian subtitles or whatever set of subtitles you're looking. Or indeed, you can switch on the French and the Spanish subtitles if you're looking for a real challenge as a native English speaker, perhaps. So definitely worth having a look at that. And I'll just share that link here. I think I've got it here. Yeah, so it's languagelearningwithnetflix.com. And there you'll be able to have a look at the site. Again, you need to log in with your Netflix account, but you'll be able to switch on two sets of subtitles. But you do need to do that on a computer, a laptop, or whatever, as opposed to using the system that you would normally use on your television or your tablet, perhaps. We have another couple of comments here. We've got David saying, bonjour from Greenville. Try Netflix, Call My Agent, good and contemporary. Thank you. Lydia is saying, I love Coffee Break French. Thank you, Lydia. And Isabella is saying, I watched Criminal UK. The first three were in English and then the next few were in Spanish. Well, that's actually really interesting because Criminal is a fantastic new show. It's very, very well done. I think it was originally filmed in the UK. And what they've done is used one location, and it's an interrogation room, a police interrogation room. And in the interrogation room, they have a potential criminal who's being investigated or who's being interviewed by the police. And everything happens in that room and in the room next door. So it's very intense, but the episodes are quite short. I watched one of the French ones. So the French and the Spanish and the German and the UK cast all filmed exactly this, not the same stories, but they used the same location, the same set to film their own versions of the show. So a very clever idea from the producers, creating new content with that idea of doing multiple languages in the one place. So there we have it. We've got Isabella's suggestion of Criminal. We've got Malin who's saying, this is a big comment, I'm not sure whether we'll be able to get it all in here. Oops, sorry about that. Let's stretch this out. So Malin is saying, my brilliant friend in Italian was quite a challenge for me with the Neapolitan dialect yet. But that's sometimes some of the really good things about seeing these kind of shows, because you get local language and different accents and different versions of the language, if you like. And Maling's in Sweden, and she's saying, our local public library offers a movie streaming service since a few months, which is great. It doesn't generally have the big blockbusters, but the absolutely brilliant part is that it offers a lot of foreign movies that are great for language practice. One of the Italian movies I watched on that was Pane e Tulipani. Now, that is one of Francesca's favourite films. I know that for a fact, so thank you for sharing that, Malin. It's very much worth checking out your own local library. Perhaps they've got a similar system. So Lisa is saying here, I watched Call My Agent and Criminal French, but need some more French shows to watch on Netflix or Amazon Prime. Okay, I'm going to share my favourite ones in the comments a little later on, and they include some French and some Spanish and a really good German one as well. There's a great show in German that jumps around in time, and it's well worth investigating. In the UK, we have a service called Walter Presents. It's part of the Channel 4 network. And I think this is also available on certain networks in the States. And there are some fantastic shows on Walter Presents. And it's definitely well worth checking these out. Okay, I think that's where we're going to leave our talking point for today. Thank you for sharing all your ideas on that. And of course, if you're watching the replay of this, then we'll really be glad to see your thoughts on this if you post your favourite Netflix shows. And then those of you who are watching live, then come back a little later on, come back tomorrow, and perhaps there's going to be a whole list of suggestions from some of our listeners and viewers from around the world. Okay, I'll just take this off our screen here, get rid of that. It is time now to move on to our cultural roundup for the week. Sorry, I keep pressing the wrong buttons today. Let's take that off the screen. We are going on to our cultural roundup, so I need to press this button here, and we'll move straight on to... Actually, no, we're not. We're going to move on to our reviews first of all. So a couple of reviews here come in this week. This is a review of Coffee Break German, and Anjay Tangchong is saying, most amazing podcast. I listen to it almost every day on my way to work, 20 to 30 minutes of German lesson in a very structured way, and I like how Mark, as a native English speaker, gives us tips or traps that are really spot on for native English speakers. Thank you, Anjay, for that. We also have a Coffee Break Italian review from Apple Podcasts. A wonderful way to learn Italian. Fun and engaging. I heartily recommend it. Works particularly well with long walks, when returns feeling good and immersed in Italian. I was actually listening to a podcast last night. It's a podcast that is created by a friend of mine, Chris Broholm. I was with Chris in Boston last week for the Sound Education Conference, and Chris and John Fotheringham, another language podcaster, were talking about how the fact is that you can really recreate the foreign country simply by experiencing it through podcasts, videos, and surrounding yourself, immersing yourself in the language. And just as the review here from Spence suggests, you head out on a walk, you return feeling immersed in Italian. Another review from another Weasley on Apple Podcasts. I've been searching quite some time to find a podcast or audiobook to supplement my daily French studies. I really appreciate the care and good humour that went into creating these podcasts. I look forward to listening to each episode, not just for the act of French learning, but also for the personality of the hosts, who make you feel very at home. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much indeed to another Weasley. It is time, finally, for our Coffee Break cultural roundup for the week. And this week we've got a selection of different cultural things that are happening, starting in Italy with the Venice Marathon on the 27th of October. So if you are interested in watching the marathon, or indeed taking part, it's probably too late to take part this year, but you can certainly go along and watch, and I'm sure this will be broadcast on local TV and indeed perhaps over the internet too, if you're interested in running and all things sport. So that's the Venice Marathon taking place on the 27th of October. We then have a beer fest, a craft beer festival in Barcelona taking place this weekend, the 25th and 6th of October. So if you're interested in beer, and this is trying to be the premier craft beer and introduce the craft beer industry to Spain, so definitely check that out this weekend. And then this one, I like the name of this one, is the Biennale. Now, you'll be familiar, I'm sure, with the Venice Biennale. And this is the Biennale, so it's a film festival in Vienna, not Venice. And this film festival takes place from the 24th of October all the way through to the 6th of November. And it's a range of new films and older films which are shown as part of this film festival. And finally, I have to say, perhaps my favourite one this week, the Salon du Chocolat, the Salon of Chocolate, or the Chocolate Fair, which is taking place in Paris this coming week. So if you're a chocolate lover, then you can definitely have a look for the Salon du Chocolat, actually starting next week on the 30th of October, but it'll certainly be before our next catch-up. So if you'd like to find out more about all of these, and I would certainly like to find out more about some of these, then all you need to do is make sure you're subscribed to our newsletter, and you can find that at radiolingua.com/newsletter, because in our newsletter, as of tomorrow morning, you will receive some links about the episodes and so on from Coffee Break that we've shared, but also the newsletter will include links about these cultural events that are happening, and it'll give you the chance to find out more about them, either in English or in the language of the country where the events will take place. So make sure you sign up for the Coffee Break newsletter, the catch-up newsletter, which is going out every Friday. And you can do that, as I said, at radiolingua.com/newsletter. Okay, we've got a couple of other questions here just before we finish. So Brian is saying Europa Europa is an old but good German film. It also reminds me of I think it's Deutschland 83 or something like that. Deutschland 83. I think that is another show that's available either on Walter Presents or on Netflix. I can't quite remember where that is. Bernardo is saying, I love Coffee Break Languages. Thank you. Philippe Pagano is saying, Chocolat. Très bien, merci. Okay. I think that's us. Well, thank you for joining us this week. It has been a pleasure, as ever. Sharing the Coffee Break news with you, sharing our latest ideas, our latest news. Don't forget that on the 8th of November, we've got a very special event happening. Once again, thank you to everyone who's been involved in putting all our content together this week, and obviously everyone who is involved in the actual catch-up. Again, thanks to our work experience students who have been with us, and we hope that they've enjoyed their week. I hope you've enjoyed this particular catch-up, and I hope that you can join us again for each of our, obviously, our ongoing episodes. Don't forget to subscribe to the newsletter, because that is where you'll get all the further information about this. And I think all that remains for me to do is, as ever, wish you happy coffee breaking. And I always like to finish with another language, so I think we'll go to Swahili today, and I'll say asante sana and kwaheri. Thank you and goodbye. Press the right button, Mark. Here we go. Yeah, that's it for this week. Thank you. Bye-bye.